everyone, it's Clarice, and today I'm going to be reviewing The Shadow of the Wind by Carlos Ruiz Zafón. This is a book about a boy named Daniel who discovers a book called The Shadow of the Wind by a man named Julian Carax. So he reads the book, falls in love with the book, and naturally wants to find out more about the author of the book, but eventually realizes that the author's life is just one big question mark. Why doesn't anyone know who this author is? Why is there a man trying to burn all of his books? Where did he go? What happened to him? Who is Julian Carax? Carax? I'm not totally sure if I pronounced the name right, but well. First thing I noticed just right off the bat was how beautiful the writing was. I basically wanted to highlight everything, though I couldn't do that because my copy was a library book, and also because highlighting everything kind of defeats the purpose of highlighting, doesn't it? But anyway, the writing was beautiful. So much so that I kind of found myself wanting to learn Spanish while I was reading this book, just because if the writing of the translation was this well done, then how amazing must the original be? Also, this book is very much a mystery novel, which I really enjoyed. Often when I'm reading books, I like to try to predict what's going to happen and what the big reveals are going to be. I enjoyed the book because of that, because it made it more interactive. But at the same time, I was actually able to predict almost all of the major reveals relatively early on. That being said, I don't feel that that took away from my experience reading this book in any way or made me less excited to keep reading it. I still found myself wanting to just keep flipping the pages and keep wanting to find out what's gonna happen next. It was still extremely difficult to put down because even though I already predicted the what, I still found myself wanting to understand the why. Another thing to note is that this book was written by a Spanish writer and was also set in Spain, I think after World War II. And so while I was reading this book, I felt really immersed in the culture of Spain, which was a nice experience for me, especially since the Philippines, where I live, was actually colonized by Spain for about 300-ish years. And so a lot of their culture kind of seeped into ours. And it was nice reading this book and seeing the similarities in our two cultures, you know, in the names of the schools, because a lot of our schools are also named after saints, in the expressions being used, and also in the food of it. So that was really nice, and also because again, it was easy for me to immerse myself in this new culture while I was reading about it, which is always what I look for in historical-based books. Admittedly, this book can get a bit overdramatic, especially when it came to the love. You know, there was a lot of love at first sight, a lot of unrequited love, a lot of my whole world revolves around this one person types of relationships, which I normally don't like, but for whatever reason, for the most part in this book, I didn't really mind. I think this book foreshadowed things well enough that when things happened, they made sense. You know, I was able to suspend my disbelief. If you hate romance, you might not like it, but I was kind of okay with it, even though I generally don't like romance in books as much as the normal person would. And since it was kind of dramatic and it was a mystery novel, for the most part this book was pretty serious. But it also did have its lighter moments. You know, there's this one character specifically who definitely served as the comic relief, and I really enjoyed that this character was in this book. And I feel like if you weren't there, it might have been difficult to read this book for long periods of time. So overall, I love this book. It's definitely one of my new favorites, and I would highly recommend it. It is technically part of a series, but I think it's a companion series in the sense that this book can stand totally fine on its own, so don't worry that you have to commit to a series. It's definitely a book for book lovers, especially ones that like historical fiction or mystery. So if you read The Shadow of the Wind, please tell me what you thought about it. I would love to discuss this book with you guys in the comment section down below. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in my next video. Bye!